Hi, everyone. My name is Peter Kaldis, and welcome to The Future is Old, the podcast about the one thing we all become, which is old. And I'm joined today by my co-host.
Hi, I'm Rach Angard.
Rach, today I want to touch on something that we all will deal with.
Okay.
So in addition, if we're lucky to aging, we may have the joy of taking care of a loved one.
Yeah.
And caregiving.
I like the word putting the word joy on that.
You have to.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
But it's also truly a privilege and an honor to take care of someone. And as you know, recently my dad died of pancreatic cancer, and he was living very independently with my mom, and then was given this shocking diagnosis. And pancreatic cancer is a killer. We all know it. And unfortunately had only 32 days left to live after
32.
The diagnosis. But the caregiving that goes into that is exhausting.
Yeah, I'm sure like it's extensive.
And you know, the problem is that unlike with your parents who hold your hand at every step as a kid, if you're lucky, the medical system does not do that.
No, not at all. They're there for making money, not to put capitalism onto it, but that is a huge aspect of it.
I mean, and to be fair, healthcare workers are
the
overworked,
workers themselves, yes,
overworked, super stressed. Yep. They're not in it for the money.
No,
they wouldn't be in these jobs if they were.
Right.
However, they're constrained.
Yeah, by the system.
They're constrained by sort of the rules of the game, and that's a whole episode onto itself. But I really wanted to get back to care because you, as someone who's in the space, to then have to do that personally, it actually reignited my advocacy and my desire to help fix the systems from our positions of privilege. And really do something about that. I mean, what's your take on care?
Yeah, well, actually, first I have a question for you, which, I think often about that where it's like, I think care, again, I like how you put the word joy on it. I think it is a beautiful thing, although it is, of course, exhausting. But it's like, I wonder how it felt for you to care for the person who cared for you, to almost like complete that cycle. I'm just curious how that felt.
It was overwhelming.
Yeah.
In part because I didn't expect it to happen. So this stoic paternal figure in my life all of a sudden needed tremendous amounts of care and love. And I think what clinched it for me, I knew I was doing it right. It's not like I read a book on it. There's no real, I mean, there are a couple books, but I didn't read them on the fly.
Right.
But it was definitely rewarding and validating when my father said to me, "Thank you for staying here with me. I feel safe."
Oh, that's beautiful.
And I was shocked that my father,
your stoic father,
would feel a need to reveal that because he's so, stoic and very Greek and almost macho about it, right? But it was a beautiful experience. But unfortunately, caregiving is hard.
So hard. It is so hard. No, I know that from personal experience. This morning, my dog threw up.
It's totally the same. What happened?
Well, there was a little bit of blood. And I had to pet him.
Did he survive?
He survived.
Oh, thank God.
And he ate his breakfast as quickly as ever. Yeah. And you know what? No thank you from him. He didn't say a single thing.
Well, caregiving can sometimes be a thankless job.
Right. That's right. That's what I have to remind myself in these times.
I'm really excited about our next guest because she gets this, gets caregiving. We're going to hear from her talk about her personal journey, as well as her professional one in care. And I suspect she also has taken care of a dog.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope she knows what it's like.
Today's guest is an organizer and an author. As the president of the National Domestic Workers Alliance and the executive director of Caring Across Generations, she builds better caregiving systems in America. Her tireless work has earned her a MacArthur Genius Grant and a spot on Time Magazine's 100 Most Influential People. Please welcome to The Future is Old, my friend Ai-Jen Poo. Ai-Jen.
Hi, I'm so happy to be with you.
How are you, Ai-Jen? Where do we find you?
I'm home in Chicago, and I'm doing really well. I actually am excited to be in a space about thinking about the future as old. That makes me really happy.
Well, do you think you're old?
Yes, but not like it's all kind of relative. I'm older than I was, and honestly, there's a filmmaker who said to me recently. She made the film Familiar Touch. Sarah
Oh
Friedland.
yeah.
Yes. She said, we're all the ages we've ever been. So if you're 52, you're also the 30-year-old you and the 42-year-old you and the 18-year-old you. And I kind of love that. So I'm the 52-year-old me, and I'm also the 30-year-old me at the club.
Love it.
I love that.
Right. No, it's great. Okay. So speaking of all the ages that you are, I would love to understand your journey on how you got here, how you got to basically movement building and successfully doing so. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I started out just being curious about the experiences of the nannies that I saw in New York City, pushing babies who were clearly not their own in strollers, the Caribbean women who were pushing the wheelchairs of older adults who were clearly not their family members, and just wanting to know more about their stories and listening to them in the parks and playgrounds in New York, realizing how much New York City and by extension the entire world is kind of held up on some level by the caregiving work of women who we recognize as professionals and also women in our families. And I started to think more about the care in my own family and who raised me. And right around that same time, my grandfather lost his vision and a bunch of his other, he developed a whole bunch of other health conditions that put us in a really challenging care position as a family and not able to find care that he needed in order to stay at home. And that took us down a whole journey, and me realizing how insufficient at best our caregiving systems are from every angle, whether you're the worker or the family member or my grandfather.
Ai-Jen, I'm wondering, where were you professionally when that overlapped with your personal story overlapped with your sort of professional trajectory? Because I always am curious to learn about our guests' paths.
It's so interesting, Peter, because most people become advocates after they become caregivers, right? Because you learn how to advocate for your loved one in the system by necessity, right? But for me, it was the opposite. I was an organizer and an advocate for domestic workers before becoming a family caregiver for my grandparents and family members. And so yeah, I really saw the world through the eyes of domestic workers first, and then I saw the world through the eyes of my grandfather and all of my family members who were trying to find his care.
That overlap of professional and personal, I've just experienced as well, because I lost my father recently to prostate cancer or pancreatic cancer. And what's interesting is, I, like you, were well versed in the space. And yet when it happens to you, you're like, wait a minute, I still am unprepared. I still need more resources. I still need more help. So I'm always curious to hear about people's journeys in this space.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry I didn't know about your father, Peter.
Thank you, Ai-Jen. Thank you. But I think it does give fuel to advocates to fight for better resources and better systems, because they've had to navigate the broken ones now. And I want to touch on that a little bit. As you looked at the movement and you looked at domestic workers, who all, for the most part, are women, I'm wondering, what lessons did you draw from sort of the wider labor movement, and how did that compare to how you dealt with advocating for a stronger domestic workers movement?
When I first started out organizing with domestic workers, I had no idea what I was doing, and I did not know a thing about the labor movement. And interestingly, domestic workers are excluded from the right to organize and form a union.
Wow.
Oh,
dating
wait,
back.
Say that again. Why is that?
Yes. In the New Deal, right, which is what
Oh.
the right to organize is a part of, including the National Labor Relations Act and the Fair Labor Standards Act. All these bills that were passed as part of the New Deal explicitly excluded domestic workers and agricultural
Jeez.
workers. Yep.
Why?
And
Do you know why?
Well, it was Southern Dixiecrats who did not want those workers to be included because of racism. Those workers were mostly Black workers at the time, and they didn't want equal rights. And so that imprint has really defined the treatment of this workforce in law and policy. So we were kind of outside of the system altogether, which in a way I feel like has enabled us to really make our own way and be creative and innovate and not be constrained by the way it's always been done. And so we've done a lot to think about how do we use technology and how do we use narrative and storytelling and how do we use every single tool at our disposal because the law hasn't historically been there for us.
Oof.
Yeah, it's amazing, right?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I actually recently saw a small documentary about midwifery, and they were talking about the racism, the historic racism that goes into that, where it was like mostly Black women who were helping predominantly white women give birth. And now I'm connecting, and then like midwifery became kind of looked down upon. And now I'm even connecting that, which is a caregiving of a different type, right? But
Exactly.
the caregiving of babies and mothers and seeing like that racism and the lack of unionizing. It's every piece is together, and it's just very frustrating to see how they all play into each other.
Truly.
Yeah. And speaking of isms and racism is particularly pernicious, I'm wondering, how has age bias or ageism come up in either in your life as you do this work or the work generally?
Well, what's interesting, I look at the world through the lens of caregiving, and in the care, if there is such a thing as a care economy, right, which is the whole world of economic activity that has to do with how we care for families in America. That place, if there is such a place called the care economy, it is a place where so many people who have been dehumanized in different ways or devalued in different ways are concentrated. If you think about immigrants and women of color who've historically been associated with care work as a profession, or if you think about older adults or disabled people who rely on care work disproportionately, children who have no political voice in our system, right?
Yeah.
Like that, the concentration of so many groups of people who are sort of at the bottom of different hierarchies in the way our society is organized. It just reminds me that when you look at it through the lens of all these different hierarchies, really the majority of us are positioned in a disadvantaged way in one form or another. And older people are definitely, this idea that we live in a culture that should be afraid of aging, when aging at essence is living. If we're lucky,
That's right.
we're aging from the moment we're born. And I think just how we have developed an aversion to that reality in this country has created so much unnecessary suffering, which is why I love this podcast so much, because maybe we can.
Thank you, Ai-Jen.
We can reframe that.
And I think your personal and professional journey also has uniquely allowed you to reframe caregiving so that it does address all aspects of it. And having worked with you personally, I know you're not just focused on childcare, which is incredibly important.
Yeah.
You're focused on care, full stop, period. And you wrote a book about it called Age of Dignity, Preparing for the Elder Boom in a Changing America. So I love that I believe that was your first book, was focused on aging. And in it, you write, care is something we do. It's something we want. It's something we can improve.
Oh, beautiful.
So tell us a little bit about that book and sort of what folks can learn from it.
Well, the idea is that we are a country that is providing and receiving more care than ever because we have essentially added an entire generation onto our lifespan from a few generations ago, right? When the Social Security Act was put into place, life expectancy was about 64. And today we're at 79. So we're living much longer, yes, than ever before. And I see that as an opportunity because living longer means longer to learn and love and connect and teach and all these things, contribute. And it requires that we organize society in such a way to support that agency and that dignity for a longer lifespan. And the book really argues that that is an opportunity for us to address so many challenges that we have faced as a country, including our general aversion to aging, but also to adapt, right? Also to adapt and support quality of life for our aging loved ones. And
Well, our thesis at Next 50 is that we want to create a world that values aging. And you're hitting right on that, Ai-Jen, is that we don't value it as the opportunity it is. And not just the business opportunity, because candidly, that seems to attract the capitalists in our society, but also policy opportunities, which is what I want to talk to you about next. Can you give us a sense of some of your proudest policy achievements in the roles that you occupy?
Yes, and I will say that every policy achievement in the care space is actually kind of like a human achievement because what we're really doing is investing in human relationships and human capacity.
Beautiful.
But I was really proud to have been a part of as a baby organizer, the first campaign to win a domestic worker bill of rights in New York State. And Washington State just became the 13th state in the country to pass a domestic worker bill of rights this year.
Wow. So what is that? What did that do?
It establishes the right to minimum wage, overtime, protection from discrimination and harassment, some paid sick days in different states, protection from or the right to parental leave in different states. So every state is a little bit different, but it really tries to equalize the protections that domestic workers have with other workers across our economy. And in Hawaii, we passed the first ever family caregiver benefit, which supports working family caregivers who are trying to take care of their loved ones at home and keep them out of institutions, getting a benefit to be able to do that of up to $74 a day. And Washington State just became the first state to implement a long-term care benefit that is universally, yes, it's amazing. It's universally accessible. There's no income requirement, and it supports expenses related to caring for aging and disabled loved ones.
Wow.
So anyone living in the state could get this reimbursement?
Yes, exactly. Of up to $10,000. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, long-term care is so expensive as it is in this country.
It's so expensive.
$10,000 is politely a drop in the bucket, but it is something because it is so freaking expensive to take care of loved ones in this country.
It is. And it is really a proof of concept for what we really need to be doing, which is investing in affordable long-term care in all contexts and all situations.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Most people assume that Medicare covers long-term care until they're in a position of needing it and then realizing it does not. And so I think the future is really figuring out how we can all get some kind of income support to help us pay for long-term care, which is going to be an inevitable expense for the majority of us.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want to get too wonky here, and I know you're a genius at this stuff, Ai-Jen. So I'm curious if you could answer this at a super high level. Is Washington paying attention to these issues? Is there any movement on these issues? Is there any hope?
There is hope. There are all kinds of meetings happening right now where people are talking about how we address this huge and growing need in our country. But it is not inevitable that it will happen. The demand has to come from everyday people like us, all of your listeners. We all really have to have our voices heard on this, and it's not going to be prioritized until we demand that it be prioritized.
That's right. And speaking of voices, you've talked to me earlier about your A Million Conversations campaign. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh, this is my favorite the favorite topic to discuss. We are in the process of talking to and really listening to 1 million families share their experiences with caregiving. And we want to hear their ideas and opinions about how to address this huge challenge and opportunity we have to really remake care in America. I believe that we are going to be the generation to change the way that we support and value caregiving in this country for future generations. And we want to hear from all of your listeners and their communities about what they think that should look like. So that's the mission this year. Yeah.
Cool. Why 1 million? Where'd you? And it's such a big, lofty number, which I appreciate and respect. But I'm like, how'd you land on that?
Ai-Jen's ambitious.
I love it.
Well, you know what I realized in my old age is that you can work really, really hard and shoot for small things. And so if you're going to work really, really hard, you may as well shoot for the moon. So we said 1 million conversations. Let's do it. And, so the idea is there's 130 million of us today are in some kind of caregiving relationship and situation. And so to get some representative sample of all of us out there who are caring, part of the caregiving generation, we just wanted to make sure that we were speaking to enough of the listeners out there. And so 1 million felt like a good number to start with.
Ooh, I love it. Ai-Jen, you are ambitious. Right? That rocks.
One of the things about policy change is that it's one thing to have strong advocates, lobbyists, all sorts of special interests, whether they be good or bad special, depending on what side you're on. Storming the halls of Washington or any state capital. But I think you can't have that alone to change the way we think about things in this country. You need narrative change as well.
Yeah.
And Hollywood and the media play such an important role in that.
Yeah, huge.
And Ai-Jen, I'm really excited at some of your work in this space in particular around care. Ai-Jen was part of the Bradley Cooper documentary on caregiving that we supported at Next 50. And I'm curious, Ai-Jen, why is narrative change important to this particular topic? And what are some examples of where we're getting it right?
Well, I think it's a similar spirit to this podcast, which is basically that at the end of the day, if we don't change how we think and feel at a deep level, at a kind of values, belief level, a very deeply emotional level, it's going to be really hard to change behavior and also policy.
Yeah.
And we want to really embody a new attitude around around aging, around caregiving, around disability. And if we're going to do that, we're going to need a new story. And so the story that and it's really hard to value what you can't see in our culture, right?
Let's say that again. Ooh, that's so true.
So we want to make the incredible range of caregiving realities, because it is really such an human and gritty and real part of life. And I feel like people are really hungry for that. It's just like, it feels to me like the cutting edge of great human storytelling is really about caregiving and all of its complexities. And so we want to tell that story so that people feel seen and people realize they're not alone. And we can make visible this huge part of our lives that has been invisible in our culture for too long. And we can start to embody a new way, right?
So are there projects that you've been involved with, maybe on TV or in film, that you're particularly proud of?
Why, yes. And I did not ask you to ask me that question.
Nope,
but
you didn't.
I'm really excited about a film that is making its way through the film festival circuit right now. It's going to be at Tribeca Film Festival very soon. The film is called Take Me Home. And it is the story of a caregiving family. The lead character is a woman with a cognitive disability whose family of caregivers needs to come together because her parents are aging. And they're navigating a complex system that is not ready for what their family needs. And it's based on the filmmaker's personal story. Her sister, Anna, stars in the film, and she is magnetic and irresistible. And the film is shot in their childhood home outside of Orlando. And it is just, it is really so real, so specific. And I think each of us will find a little bit of our own stories inside of it. But please see the film when it comes to theaters this fall. In the meantime, check it out at a film festival near you.
Wow.
We got to get you to Denver because Denver has a fantastic film festival and really supports independent film. So
perfect.
We're going to have to connect that dot, Ai-Jen.
Yeah, that's right. And rumor has it you guys, that movie won an award at Sundance. Is that right?
Oh, yes. That film it premiered at Sundance, and it won the Screenwriters Award. Liz Sargent, our director and writer, won the Screenwriters Award. And our producer, Apoorva, won the Producers Award. And so and we sold out every show almost immediately. So we're just so proud of this film, and I can't wait for you to see it.
Wow. Oh, Ai-Jen, that's so great. And you always are extraordinarily creative in your approach to your work. And I really appreciate that about your work and your organization's work. I'm wondering if you could, and this is my last question before we segue to our rapid fire segment. I'm wondering if you could, if you were to, wave a magic wand, either in TV or over social media or in film, what's sort of the one story that you think absolutely needs to be told that's not being told right now?
Oh my goodness. Oh, I'm not ready for this question. The one story. You know what? I would love a story about, I would love a caper adventure with an older person and a home care worker who find themselves in an adventure. And whatever the caper is, just fun and kooky and zany, that kind of film.
I love that. Let's get working on the screenplay.
I love that. I love that because care isn't just about the heaviness of it, right? Care is about love and care is about joy. And that you want to see a movie about that? Yes, make it happen, Ai-Jen. Make it happen.
I'm looking. I mean, if there are any writers are listening to your pod right now, be in touch if that's what you're writing.
Let's do it. That's great. All right, Rach, your turn.
Okay, my turn, Ai-Jen. Are you ready for your rapid fire questions?
I'm ready.
Okay, so just 3 of them. So your first question is, what do you not miss about being younger?
Stress about unimportant things.
Yeah, like what?
Like, if I made this person mad because I said the wrong thing, or, I don't know, did I invite the right people, or did I don't know, silly things that you end up kind of in a little swirl about, when they're not really the things that matter.
Yeah, like getting that swirl of frivolity.
Yes.
Okay, now, second question is, what is the gold in getting old?
Oh, there is a wisdom that comes from experience and making lots of mistakes over long periods of time, where you're just kind of like, you just kind of, you didn't know what you didn't know until you did it, and then you knew. And like, I've accumulated many of those things over time.
You've accumulated wisdom, is what you said, right?
Right. Yep. Yeah, right. You can only learn through the drafting process, right?
That's right.
Okay. Ai-Jen, our final question for you is, if you could complete this sentence for us. I will know the future is old when...
we realign our systems and our story with what matters most.
Gosh, I'm putting that on a t-shirt. That's
seriously
beautiful. Yeah.
Swag.
Yeah, you're going to be our first merch.
Ai-Jen, that's so true. And I have to tell you, I'm so happy to know you and to know the good work that you're doing. So I just want to again, share my appreciation for you, not just joining the podcast, but for your tireless dedication to this space. Yeah. If people wanted to follow your organization's work, your work, the film, all of that, where can they go?
caringacross.org, and we're especially looking for volunteers to help us have 1 million conversations this year. So do come to our website, sign up, and you can follow me at Ai-Jen Poo, AIJENPOO.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us today, Ai-Jen.
Thank you, Ai-Jen.
Thanks for having me.